She thought the billionaire wanted her for one night, but he gave her a name and a future. Kathryn Bailey's hands shook as she arranged the canapes on silver trays, and it had nothing to do with the May humidity creeping through the grand ballroom's French doors. 35 years old, and she was still one bad night away from losing everything. Again. "Miss Bailey, the lobster puffs need to go out in 5 minutes." The event coordinator's voice sliced through her concentration. "Yes, ma'am." Kathryn forced steadiness into her fingers. This gala at Charlottesville's historic Boar's Head Resort was the biggest job her catering business had landed in 2 years. One mistake, one complaint, and the deposit she'd scraped together for Simone's school tuition next month would evaporate like morning dew on the Blue Ridge Mountains, visible through the windows. "My beautiful family, welcome to Romance and Love Stories. Here, we don't just tell stories, we breathe life into the kind of love that finds you when you least expect it. The kind that changes everything, the kind that reminds you why the heart never gives up. If this is your first time here, go ahead and subscribe and turn on your notifications, because every story we share carries a message meant for someone. And if you've been with us before, thank you. Truly, your support keeps this community growing. Settle in, stay with us till the very end, drop a comment so we know how you feel, and don't forget to like this video. Now let's dive deep." She caught her reflection in one of the ballroom's massive gilt mirrors. Black pants, white chef's coat, hair pulled back in a neat bun. Invisible, exactly how she needed to be tonight. The wealthy guests swirling through the charity gala in their designer gowns and tuxedos weren't looking at the help. They never did. "Auntie Kat," her phone buzzed with a text from Camille, who was watching 8-year-old Simone tonight. "She's asking when you'll be home. Having a rough night." Kathryn's chest tightened. 5 years since her sister Maya died, and some nights Simone still woke up calling for her mama. 30 years old when the cancer took her, leaving Kathryn to raise a 3-year-old on a server's salary and sheer determination. "Tell her I love her. Home by midnight." Kathryn typed back, shoving the phone into her pocket. She couldn't think about Simone's nightmares right now. Not when $300 an hour depended on these hors d'oeuvres reaching the ballroom at exactly the right temperature. Those smell incredible. A voice stopped her mid-step as she pushed through the kitchen doors, tray balanced on one hand. Kathryn looked up into the bluest eyes she'd ever seen. The man blocking her path wore his tuxedo like it was custom-made, which it probably was. Dark hair shot through with just enough silver to suggest late 30s, strong jawline, and a smile that didn't quite reach those devastating eyes. He looked tired, no exhausted in a way expensive clothes couldn't hide. "Thank you, sir. Excuse me." She moved to step around him. "Wait." He didn't touch her, but something in his voice made her pause. "What's in them? I've been to 100 of these things, and they all serve the same boring food. These actually smell like someone cares." Despite herself, Kathryn felt a flicker of pride. Chesapeake crab with Old Bay, lemon aioli, and chive. The crab came from the eastern shore this morning. His smile shifted into something genuine. "You made these yourself?" "Every single one. It's my company." Why was she telling him this? She had 24 more trays to get out. "Your company." He said it like the words mattered. "What's it called?" "Bailey's Table." Kathryn shifted the tray. It was getting heavy. "I really need to—" "Josiah Parsons." He extended his hand, and she automatically balanced the tray to shake it. His grip was warm, firm, and sent an unexpected jolt through her nervous system. "And I'm going to need your card before you disappear into that kitchen." "Parsons." Kathryn's mind raced. As in Parsons Technologies? The billionaire who'd revolutionized data security and owned half of Charlottesville's tech corridor? She'd seen his face in the local business journal when the library had a free copy. This man's net worth had more zeros than she could imagine. "I don't have cards on me while I'm working," she heard herself say, "but Bailey's Table is online. I'll find it." His eyes held hers for a moment too long. Not in a creepy way, in a way that made her feel seen for the first time all night. Then someone called his name from across the ballroom, and the spell broke. Kathryn fled to the kitchen, heart hammering. What was that? She'd served at dozens of events for wealthy people. They didn't notice her. They definitely didn't ask about her business or look at her like she was the most interesting person in the room. "Girl, why are you blushing?" Camille's cousin Tegan, her only employee tonight, raised an eyebrow from the prep station. I'm not. Kathryn grabbed another tray. We're behind schedule. But 3 trays later, she caught herself scanning the ballroom for those blue eyes, found them across the room, and God help her, he was already looking back. Raised his champagne glass slightly in her direction. She nearly dropped the bacon-wrapped scallops. Bailey's table, this is Kathryn. She answered her business line the next morning while measuring flour for a small birthday cake order. Simone singing to herself at the kitchen table over Saturday morning cartoons. I'd like to hire you for a private dinner. That voice. Kathryn's hand stilled on the measuring cup. Mr. Parsons. Josiah, please. Are you available next Friday evening? He sounded different on the phone, more businesslike, but with an undercurrent of something she couldn't name. She pulled up her calendar app with flour-dusted fingers. Next Friday was blank. Desperately blank. She had a small corporate lunch on Thursday and the birthday cake pickup, but otherwise it had been a slow month. What kind of event? Dinner for 12. My mother's birthday. She's turning 66 and wants something intimate at the house rather than a restaurant. I tried your crab cakes last night, ate 6 of them, and I want that level of care for her meal. 6 of them. Kathryn felt an absurd flutter of pleasure. What kind of menu are you thinking? I'll defer to your expertise. My mother loves fresh, local ingredients. Nothing too fussy. And Kathryn? His voice softened. Cost isn't a concern. I want you to create something special, and I want you to be paid what you're worth. The words should have thrilled her. Instead, a familiar wariness crept up her spine. Men with money always wanted something. Her ex-boyfriend had taught her that lesson hard enough to leave bruises on her bank account and her trust. But this was business, a legitimate job, and the number he'd just quoted for the dinner was more than she usually made in a month. I'll need a deposit, she said carefully. I'll have my assistant transfer half the total to your account today, the rest on completion. Does that work? It worked. It worked so well that Kathryn's hands trembled as she wrote down the details. His address, of course, he lived in one of those estates off Barracks Road, with views of the mountains. Dietary restrictions, none. Arrival time 4 o'clock to prep in his kitchen. Auntie Kat, can we go to the park? Simone appeared at her elbow, syrup on her chin. Who's that? Josiah asked, warmth in his voice. Kathryn hesitated. She didn't talk about Simone with clients, didn't want to be seen as the struggling single guardian who might inspire pity instead of respect. But something about the way he'd asked made her answer honestly. My niece. I'm raising her. Then you should definitely charge me more. Park trips don't fund themselves. He was smiling, she could hear it. I'll see you Friday, Kathryn. And thank you. The line went dead before she could respond. Kathryn stared at her phone, then at the notification showing a deposit of $3,500 hitting her account. We can go to the park, she told Simone, pulling her in for a hug. We can definitely go to the park. Friday arrived wrapped in the kind of perfect early June weather that made Charlottesville look like a postcard. Kathryn loaded her supplies into her aging Honda, the one with the check engine light she'd been ignoring for 3 months, and tried to calm her nerves. It's just a dinner. You've done dozens of private events. But her hands still shook as she turned onto the tree-lined private drive that led to Josiah Parsons' home. Calling it a house was like calling the Blue Ridge Mountains hills. The stone and glass structure rose from manicured grounds like something from a design magazine, all clean lines and floor-to-ceiling windows that probably cost more than her entire apartment building. A woman in her 60s with silver hair and kind eyes met her at the side entrance. You must be Kathryn. I'm Eleanor, Josiah's mother. Let me help you with those bags. Oh no, I've got them. Kathryn started, but Eleanor was already reaching for one of her coolers. Nonsense. My son's paying you to cook, not to haul groceries alone. Eleanor's smile crinkled the corners of her eyes. Besides, I want to see what magic you're about to create in my son's kitchen. He hasn't stopped talking about your crab cakes. The kitchen was a chef's dream, marble countertops, professional-grade appliances, more space than Kathryn's entire apartment. She tried not to gawk as she unpacked her carefully prepped ingredients. He had it renovated last year, Eleanor said, watching her reaction. Doesn't cook much himself, which is a shame. This kitchen deserves someone who appreciates it. It's beautiful. Kathryn ran her hand over the butcher block island. So are you, dear. Kathryn's head snapped up. Eleanor was studying her with a mother's assessing gaze that saw far too much. "I meant the kitchen is beautiful," Kathryn stammered. "I know what you meant." Eleanor's smile turned knowing. "But my statement stands. Now, I'm going to get out of your way and let you work. Josiah's in his office if you need anything. Third door on the left, down that hallway." She paused at the door. "He's a good man, Kathryn. Lonely, but good. Success hasn't spoiled him." Then she was gone, leaving Kathryn alone with her racing thoughts and the distinct feeling that she'd just been sized up for something that had nothing to do with dinner. She lost herself in the work-searing duck breast, reducing cherry gastrique, whipping mascarpone for the dessert. Cooking always centered her, made the world make sense in a way nothing else did. Maya used to tease her about it. "You cook when you're happy, when you're sad, when you're thinking," her sister would say. "Food is your love language, Kat. Something smells incredible." Kathryn spun around, nearly knocking over her mise en place. Josiah stood in the kitchen doorway, and he wasn't wearing a tuxedo. Just jeans and a simple button-down with the sleeves rolled up, and somehow that was worse. Made him look approachable, real. "I didn't mean to startle you." He moved into the kitchen, keeping a respectful distance. "I was working and the smell drew me out like a cartoon character following a pie scent." She laughed before she could stop herself. "It's the cherry reduction. It's almost ready. Can I watch, or will I be in the way?" He leaned against the counter, and she noticed the shadows under his eyes were deeper than they'd been at the gala. "You can watch." What else could she say? It was his kitchen. They fell into an easy silence. Kathryn plated the appetizers, local burrata, with heirloom tomatoes and basil from the farmer's market. Josiah watched her hands move with a focus that should have made her nervous, but somehow didn't. "You love this," he said quietly. "I do." She drizzled aged balsamic across the plates. "Food is honest. You put in good ingredients, proper technique, genuine care. You get something beautiful. It doesn't lie. Unlike people." She looked up sharply. His expression had shuttered, that exhaustion she'd glimpsed creeping back. "I didn't say that," she said carefully. "You didn't have to." Josiah straightened, running a hand through his hair. "I'm sorry. I've had a long week." Negotiations that fell through, a board meeting where everyone smiled while trying to undermine each other. "Sometimes I forget what honest looks like." He met her eyes. "And then I walk into my kitchen and watch you create something real, and I remember." Kathryn's heart did something complicated in her chest. This was dangerous territory. He was a client, a billionaire client who lived in a different universe than she did. But the vulnerability in his voice matched something deep in her own guarded heart. "Simone's teacher said something similar last week," she found herself saying, "that I should teach cooking classes because I light up when I talk about food." "Simone's your niece. How old is she?" 8. "She's been with me since she was 3. Her mama, my sister, she died of cancer. I was 30 when it happened, working 3 jobs, barely keeping my head above water. And suddenly, I had this little girl who'd lost everything, looking at me like I could fix the world." Kathryn's hands stilled on the basil she was tearing. "I couldn't fix it, but I could feed her, could make sure she always had a table with good food and someone who loved her across from it." "That's not nothing, Kathryn. That's everything." The way he said her name, soft, like it mattered, made her breath catch. The timer beeped, shattering the moment. Kathryn turned back to the stove, heart pounding. What was she doing? Getting lost in blue eyes and kind words when she had a dinner to prepare and a life that didn't include billionaires who looked at her like she was more than the help. "I should let you work," Josiah said, but he didn't move immediately. "Kathryn, after tonight, if you're not completely exhausted, would you have coffee with me? Just coffee. No expectations. No." He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. "I'd like to know you better. As a person, not as my caterer." Every self-protective instinct Kathryn had developed screamed at her to say no. Rich men didn't want just coffee with single mothers who drove cars with check engine lights. They wanted one night, a distraction, something they could walk away from without looking back. But the hope in his eyes looked so much like her own carefully hidden loneliness that she heard herself say, "Maybe. Let me get through tonight first." His smile could have lit the entire Blue Ridge Valley. "That's not a no. It's not a yes either. I'll take it. He headed for the door, then paused. Thank you, Kathryn. For the honesty, for the food, for maybe. Then he was gone, and Kathryn was alone with her racing heart and the terrifying realization that she wanted to say yes. Wanted it more than she'd wanted anything in the 5 years since she'd become Simone's whole world. She thought the billionaire wanted her for one night. She had no idea he was about to offer her everything. The birthday dinner was perfect. Kathryn knew it from the moment Eleanor took her first bite of the duck and closed her eyes with a sound of pure pleasure. 12 guests gathered around Josiah's dining table, all wealthy, all polite, all genuinely impressed with food that tasted like someone actually cared about them. This is extraordinary, a silver-haired man in his 70s said, gesturing with his fork. Josiah, where did you find her? She found me, Josiah said from the head of the table, his eyes on Kathryn as she refilled water glasses. Or rather, her crab cakes did. Laughter rippled around the table. Kathryn felt heat climb her neck. She wasn't used to being acknowledged during service, let alone praised. Usually, she was invisible until something went wrong. You should open a restaurant, Eleanor declared. I'd eat there every week. Mama, don't poach my caterer, Josiah said, but his smile was warm. I plan on hiring her again. Kathryn escaped to the kitchen under the pretense of plating dessert. Her hands shook slightly as she arranged the mascarpone mousse with fresh berries. This was too much the compliments, the attention, Josiah's eyes following her every time she entered the room. She'd come here to do a job, earn money for Simone's school clothes, and maybe fix that check engine light. She hadn't come to feel seen. You're allowed to enjoy the praise, you know. She jumped, nearly dropping the spoon. Josiah stood in the kitchen doorway again. Jacket off now, sleeves still rolled up like he'd been working. I'm working, she said. You're hiding. He moved closer, but not too close, always respectful of her space. They love you out there. My mother's already planning your restaurant empire. I don't want an empire. I want to pay my bills and give Simone a stable life. What if you could have both? Kathryn set down the spoon carefully. Mr. Parsons? Josiah. Josiah. His name felt strange on her tongue. Intimate. I appreciate the job. The money will help more than you know. But I'm not. She gestured at the enormous kitchen, the house beyond. This isn't my world. I'm grateful for tonight, but let's not pretend it's anything more than a business transaction. Something flickered across his face. Hurt, maybe, or understanding. What if I don't want it to be just business? Her breath caught. You don't know me. I know you drove here in a car that's probably not safe. I know you're raising your sister's child alone. I know you put everything you have into your food because it's the one place you can control the outcome. He took a step closer. I know you're terrified right now because someone's actually seeing you, and that's more dangerous than being invisible. Stop. The word came out shakier than she intended. Stop what? Stop noticing that you're brilliant and brave and so guarded. I can see the walls from across the room. His voice gentled. Kathryn, I'm not trying to buy you or impress you or play some game. I just want coffee, conversation, a chance to know the woman who makes food that tastes like hope. Food can't taste like hope. Yours does. He held her gaze. So what do you say? Tomorrow afternoon. There's a coffee shop on the downtown mall. Public, casual, your choice of when to leave. Just two people talking. Every rational part of her brain screamed no. She had Simone to pick up from Camille's in the morning. She had a corporate lunch to prep on Sunday. She had a life that didn't include coffee dates with men who could buy and sell her entire existence without noticing the charge on their credit card. But God, she was tired of being alone. Tired of every conversation revolving around Simone's needs or client requests or bills that never stopped coming. When was the last time someone had wanted to know her? Not what she could provide, but who she was. 2 o'clock, she heard herself say. Shenandoah Joe's, and I'm buying my own coffee. His smile was sunrise over the mountains. Deal. Kathryn changed outfits 4 times Saturday afternoon. Everything she owned was either work clothes or yoga pants for collapsing after work. Finally, she settled on jeans and a simple blue blouse that Camille had given her last birthday, still with the tags on. You look pretty, Auntie Kat, Simone said from her bed, surrounded by colored pencils and a drawing pad. She was sketching something that looked like a castle, or maybe a rocket ship. With Simone's imagination, it could be both. "Thank you, baby." Kathryn kissed the top of her head. "I'll be back in 2 hours. Miss Camille is downstairs if you need anything." "Is it a date?" Simone asked, not looking up from her drawing. "No, just coffee with a friend. Is riblast in mode? Ind of las ribland." "You don't have friends except Miss Camille." Simone's 8-year-old logic was devastating in its accuracy. "So it's probably a date. When did you get so smart?" "I've always been smart. You just don't always listen." Simone grinned up at her. "Mama used to say you needed someone to make you smile more, before she got sick." The familiar ache bloomed in Kathryn's chest. 5 years, and some days it felt like yesterday. Other days, Maya's voice was getting harder to remember. "Your mama was a wise woman," Kathryn managed. "So are you. That's why you should go on the date." Simone returned to her drawing. The matter settled in her mind. Kathryn drove to the downtown mall with her heart in her throat. The pedestrian area was busy with Saturday afternoon crowds. Families, couples, university students sprawled on benches with books. She spotted Josiah immediately. He sat at an outdoor table at Shenandoah Joe's, and he wasn't on his phone. Just watching people walk by with an expression of such loneliness that she almost turned around. This was a mistake. They were too different. This would end badly. But then he saw her, and his whole face transformed. He stood, nearly knocking over his chair, and the vulnerability in that clumsy movement made her feet carry her forward. "You came," he said. "I said I would. People say a lot of things." He gestured to the chair across from him. "What can I get you?" "I said I'd buy my own." "Kathryn," he said it gently, "it's coffee, not a car. Let me buy you coffee, please." She relented, asking for a latte. When he returned from the counter, he also had a chocolate croissant. "You didn't eat dessert last night," he said, sliding it across to her. "I noticed. I was working." "You're not working now." They sat in silence for a moment, the early June sun warm on Kathryn's shoulders. Around them, Charlottesville moved and breathed conversations in Spanish and English, and languages she couldn't identify, a street musician playing guitar, the smell of coffee and fresh bread from the nearby bakery. "Tell me about Simone," Josiah said finally. So she did. Told him about Maya's diagnosis, how fast the cancer moved, how she'd gone from healthy to gone in 8 months. Told him about showing up to the hospital to find a terrified 3-year-old who didn't understand why Mama wouldn't wake up. About the caseworker who'd looked at her 1-bedroom apartment and 3 part-time jobs and asked if she was sure she could handle guardianship. "I wasn't sure," Kathryn admitted, tearing off a piece of the croissant. "I'm still not sure most days. But what was I going to do? Let her go into the system? She's my blood. Maya trusted me with her baby girl." "That's love," Josiah said quietly, "showing up even when you're terrified." "What about you?" Kathryn turned the conversation. "Eleanor seems wonderful, but I noticed there was no father at dinner last night." His expression clouded. "Dad died 3 years ago, heart attack at 62. He was in the middle of a board meeting for a company he'd built from nothing, and his heart just stopped." Josiah stared into his coffee. "I was 35. Thought I had years left with him. Turns out you never have as much time as you think." "I'm sorry." "Me too." He looked up. "Mom remarried last year. A good man, a retired professor named Richard. He wasn't there last night because he's visiting his daughter in California. I'm happy for her. She deserves companionship. But sometimes I look at her with someone new, and I miss my father so much I can't breathe." Kathryn reached across the table, covering his hand with hers before she could think better of it. His fingers turned, threading through hers, and the connection felt like coming home. 35 when your dad died," she said. 30 when I lost Maya. We're the same kind of club nobody wants to join. The Lost Someone Too Young Club." His thumb traced circles on her palm. "Membership, too many people." They sat like that, hands linked across the coffee shop table, while the world moved around them. Kathryn knew she should pull away. This was too much, too fast. But his hand was warm, and she'd been cold for so long. "I have to tell you something," Josiah said eventually. "Last night wasn't just about hiring a good caterer." Her stomach dropped. Here it came. The real reason. The thing wealthy men always wanted. I saw you at that gala, and you looked so focused, so present in what you were doing. Everyone else in that ballroom was performing, wearing the right dress, saying the right things, networking, but you were just real, creating something beautiful because that's who you are. He squeezed her hand. I've been surrounded by people who want something from me for so long, I forgot what it felt like to be around someone who just wanted to do good work. I needed to know if that was real or if I was projecting. And? Her voice came out whisper, soft. It's real. You're real. And that terrifies me almost as much as it terrifies you. I'm not terrified, Kathryn lied. Liar. But he said it with affection. You're shaking. She was. Her whole hand trembled in his. I don't know how to do this. Do what? Whatever this is. I don't date. I work and I take care of Simone, and I keep my head down. I can't afford distractions. Can't afford to... She stopped herself. Can't afford to what? To hope. The words escaped before she could cage them. Hope is expensive, Josiah. It costs everything when it doesn't work out. His eyes searched hers. What if it does work out? Men like you don't end up with women like me. Not permanently. Maybe for a while until the novelty wears off. Until you remember I come with an 8-year-old and a failing car and debt I'm drowning in. She pulled her hand back. I won't be someone's temporary fascination. Is that what you think this is? He looked genuinely hurt. Kathryn, I'm 38 years old. I've dated plenty of people my own mother set me up with. People from the right families with the right connections. You know what they all had in common? I couldn't remember their favorite color a week after we stopped seeing each other. He leaned forward. I already know yours is yellow. Like the curtains in your apartment that Simone mentioned when you were on the phone with her yesterday. Like the notebook you write your recipes in that I saw peeking out of your bag. Am I wrong? He wasn't wrong. Kathryn stared at him. I notice you, he continued. Not because you're a novelty, but because when I'm around you, I remember what it feels like to want something real. To want to know someone, not network with them. You don't know what you're asking for, Kathryn said. My life is complicated. Good, I'm tired of simple. He signaled the waiter. Stay, have lunch with me. Let me learn more of your favorite things. If you still want to walk away after, I'll respect that. But give me a chance to show you that some people actually mean what they say. Kathryn should have left. Should have protected herself and Simone from the inevitable heartbreak when reality set in. But the hope she couldn't afford bloomed anyway, stubborn and wild as the flowers growing through cracks in the mall's brick walkways. I have to be home by 5, she said. Simone and I have Saturday movie night. Then we have 2.5 hours. Josiah's smile could have powered the whole city. Tell me about Saturday movie night. So she did, and he listened like every word mattered. 2 weeks later, Kathryn's phone rang while she was elbow-deep in pastry dough for a baby shower order. I have a proposition, Josiah said without preamble. They'd fallen into easy phone calls, morning check-ins before his meetings, evening conversations after Simone went to bed. Nothing serious. Just talking. But God, she'd started needing those talks like air. I'm suspicious of propositions from billionaires, she said, phone wedged between shoulder and ear. Smart woman, here it is. My company is hosting a tech summit next month. 200 executives, 3 days, and the hotel's catering is notoriously terrible. I want to hire Bailey's table. Kathryn's hands stilled in the dough. For 200 people? Josiah, I have 1 part-time employee and a kitchen the size of your closet. So I'll rent you a commercial kitchen, hire you a temporary staff, whatever you need. His voice was pure business now. This is legitimate, Kathryn. I've been getting complaints about conference food for years. You could solve that problem and get exposure to clients who actually have budgets. I'll pay market rate, actually. I'll pay above market rate because I've seen what you can do with decent resources. This feels like charity. It's not charity. It's good business. He paused. But I won't lie, I also want to see what you could build if money wasn't the limiting factor. Just once. Call it an experiment. An expensive experiment. I can afford it. And Kathryn, you can afford to say yes. Stop punishing yourself for needing help. The words hit like a physical blow. Was that what she'd been doing? turning down opportunities because accepting them felt like admitting she couldn't survive alone. "I need to think about it," she said. "Think fast. Summit's in 4 weeks. I need an answer by Friday." After he hung up, Kathryn stared at the pastry dough. Simone wandered in from her room, dragging her favorite stuffed rabbit. "Was that your boyfriend?" she asked. "He's not my boyfriend. But you smile when he calls. You never smile at your phone." Out of the mouths of babes, Kathryn pulled Simone into a flowery hug. "What would you think if Auntie Kat took a really big job? It would mean long hours for a few weeks. Maybe Miss Camille would need to watch you more." Simone considered this seriously. "Would it make you happy?" "I don't know. Maybe. Scared, mostly. Mama used to say being scared means you're doing something important." Simone looked up at her with Maya's eyes. "You should do the important thing, Auntie Kat." So on Friday, Kathryn called Josiah back and said yes. She had no idea that saying yes to the job would mean saying yes to everything else he wanted to give her, including his heart, and possibly her own destruction. The commercial kitchen Josiah rented for her was 3 times the size of her apartment. Kathryn stood in the gleaming space at 5 in the morning, coffee in hand, and tried not to cry from the sheer overwhelming possibility of it all. Stainless steel prep tables stretched before her, a 6-burner range that actually worked, a walk-in refrigerator she could stand up in. This was what she could do with resources. This was what her food could become. "You're here early." Josiah's voice came from the doorway. She spun around. He wore running clothes, hair damp with sweat, and carried 2 bags from the bakery down the street. "I could say the same thing," she said. "It's barely dawn. Couldn't sleep. Thought I'd run. Then I saw your car in the lot." He set the bags on the counter. "Brought breakfast. Nothing as good as what you make, but I figured you'd forget to eat." He was right. She would have. Kathryn took the offered croissant, still warm. "You didn't have to do this." "I know. I wanted to." He leaned against the counter, studying her. "You've been avoiding me." "I've been busy. The summit's in 2 weeks." "Kathryn." Just her name, but it stopped her excuses cold. "You haven't returned my calls in 3 days." "Simone told Camille, who told me because apparently I've been recruited into your support network, that you're working until midnight every night. What's going on?" She wanted to lie, say everything was fine. She had it under control. But standing in this kitchen he'd given her, eating bread he'd brought because he knew she'd forget herself, the truth spilled out. "I'm terrified." The words cracked on their way up. "This kitchen, this job, it's too much. I keep waiting for it to disappear. For you to realize I'm not worth this investment. For the universe to remember that women like me don't get fairy tales, they get hard work and harder choices." Josiah set down his coffee very carefully. "Women like you. You know what I mean." "I really don't. Explain it to me." Kathryn's hands tightened around the croissant. "I'm a 35-year-old single mother. Guardian. Guardian with a failing business and a car that might not start tomorrow. You're a billionaire who could have anyone. Literally anyone. This doesn't make sense. We don't make sense." "Why? Because I have money?" His voice sharpened. "Kathryn, I've had money since I was 32 when the company went public. You know what it's bought me? A big empty house and a contact list full of people who want something. Money doesn't fill the quiet. It doesn't make Saturday morning feel less lonely. It doesn't give me someone to call when I can't sleep because I'm thinking about my father. So I'm what? Your cure for loneliness? No. You're the person I think about first thing in the morning. The one whose laugh I want to hear when something funny happens. The woman who makes me want to be better than the guy who just works and comes home to silence." He moved closer. "And that terrifies me too, if we're being honest. Because I'm 38 years old and I've never felt this before. Never wanted to know everything about someone. Never checked my phone hoping for a text. Never bought croissants at dawn just for the chance to see someone smile." Kathryn's throat tightened. "Josiah, I'm not asking you to marry me. I'm not even asking you to call this dating if that word scares you. I'm just asking you to stop running." His hand lifted, hesitated, then gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "Let me help you with this summit. Let me take Simone to the Children's Museum on Sunday so you can prep in peace. Let me be someone in your corner instead of another thing you have to handle alone." "I don't know how to do that." The confession hurt coming out. "Maya and I, We only had each other growing up. Our parents died when I was 17 and she was 15. Car accident on 64 during a storm. We learned early that depending on people meant getting hurt when they left, and they always leave. I'm not leaving. You can't promise that. No, he agreed quietly. I can't promise I won't die or that life won't happen, but I can promise I'm not walking away because things get complicated. Kathryn, complicated is where I live. My company handles data security for half the Fortune 500. I navigate complicated for a living. Your life isn't going to scare me off. She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted it so badly her chest ached. Let me take Simone on Sunday, he said again. Just that. One small thing. She'll get attached, Kathryn whispered. Would that be so bad? Yes, she wanted to scream, because when you leave, she'll lose someone else she loves. But looking into his eyes, she saw the same fear reflected back. He was risking something too. Maybe not money or stability, but something that mattered more to a man who had everything. He was risking his heart. Sunday, she heard herself agree, but nothing expensive. She doesn't need to think love comes with a price tag. The Children's Museum has a free day on Sundays. We'll go there, then maybe ice cream after if she wants. His smile was gentle. I'll have her home by 5 for movie night. I wouldn't dream of interfering with tradition. Sunday arrived wrapped in late June heat. Simone had changed outfits 3 times, finally settling on her favorite purple dress and the light-up sneakers Camille had found at a thrift store. Do I look okay, Auntie Kat? She spun in a circle. You look beautiful, baby. Kathryn knelt down, straightening the collar. Remember, if you want to come home at any time, you call me. I'll come get you. I know. You've told me 4 times. Simone's tone was patient, like she was the adult. I like Josiah. He's nice. He asks me questions and actually listens to the answers. Just be yourself, okay? You don't have to impress anyone. The doorbell rang. Kathryn opened it to find Josiah in jeans and a t-shirt that said, Data never sleeps, with a cartoon computer. He looked younger, approachable, not like a man worth billions. Ready for an adventure? He asked Simone. Ready, she grabbed her small backpack. I brought colored pencils in case the museum is boring. Smart thinking. I brought snacks in case we get hungry. Great minds. He held up a small cooler, then looked at Kathryn. I'll take good care of her. I know you will, and shockingly, she meant it. She watched them walk to his car, not the sleek sports car she'd seen in his driveway, but a sensible SUV. He'd thought about that, about what would make Simone comfortable. The realization made her eyes burn. Camille appeared from her apartment downstairs as they drove away. Girl, you're crying. I'm not crying. You're absolutely crying. Happy or scared? Both. Kathryn wiped her eyes. What if he's actually good, Camille? What if this is real and I let myself believe it and then what? You might be happy? The horror. Camille put an arm around her. Kat, I watched you survive things that would break most people. You raised Maya's baby when you were barely staying afloat yourself. You built a business from nothing. You're not fragile. You're allowed to let someone in. What if he breaks her heart? What if he doesn't? What if he's exactly what he seems, a lonely man who found someone who makes the world make sense? Camille squeezed her shoulder. You can't protect Simone from every possible hurt. That's not living. That's hiding. They returned at 4:30, half an hour early. Kathryn heard Simone's laughter before the door even opened, bright and unrestrained in a way she hadn't heard since before Maya died. Auntie Kat, we saw the giant dinosaur and Josiah let me stand in the tornado simulator, and we made electricity with our hands, and then we got ice cream, and he let me get 2 scoops, because I asked nicely and... Simone barely paused for breath, eyes shining. Sounds like you had fun, Kathryn managed, heart full to bursting. The best fun. Can we do it again, please? We'll see, baby. Go wash up for movie night. Simone hugged Josiah fiercely around the waist. Thank you for the best day. Thank you for teaching me about the dinosaurs. I learned a lot. He said it seriously, like her 8-year-old expertise actually mattered. After Simone raced inside, Josiah lingered in the doorway. His hair was messed up like small hands had been grabbing it. There was a purple marker streak on his jeans. She drew on you, Kathryn observed. She was showing me her artistic technique. Apparently, I needed a decoration. He looked down at the mark with fondness. Kathryn, she's incredible. Smart and funny and so much like you, it's scary. She's my whole world. I know, that's part of why... He stopped himself. Why what? Why I'm falling for you. The words hung in the humid evening air. I know it's fast. I know it's complicated. But watching you with her, seeing the life you've built from sheer determination and love, I'm falling, Kathryn. And I wanted you to know. Her heart stopped, restarted, stopped again. Josiah, you don't have to say it back. I just needed to be honest. He took a step back. I'll see you at the summit prep on Tuesday. She should let him leave, should protect herself. Instead, she heard herself say, stay for movie night. His eyes widened. Are you sure? No, but stay anyway. So he did. Squeezed onto her thrift store couch between Kathryn and Simone, sharing microwave popcorn and watching an animated movie about a lost robot. Simone fell asleep halfway through, head on Josiah's shoulder. He didn't move, didn't disturb her, just let her rest while his hand found Kathryn's in the dark. This, he whispered, this is what I want. Not fancy dinners or charity galas. Just this. Kathryn's eyes filled. My life isn't glamorous. Good. Glamorous is exhausting. This is real. When the movie ended, Josiah helped her carry Simone to bed, watched her tuck the covers around her niece, kiss her forehead, whisper, I love you, baby girl, like a prayer. At the door, he paused. Thank you for letting me in, for today, for tonight, for trusting me with both of you. Don't make me regret it, she said, trying for lightness and failing. I won't. That's a promise I can make. Then he kissed her, soft and sweet and tasting like popcorn and possibility. Kathryn's hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer, letting herself feel wanted and safe and terrified all at once. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. I should go, he murmured. You should. Neither of them moved. Kathryn Bailey, you're going to be the end of me. Good. I'd hate to fall apart alone. He laughed, kissed her once more, then forced himself out the door. She watched him drive away, hand pressed to her lips, feeling like she'd just jumped off a cliff and wasn't sure if she was flying or falling. The tech summit was in 1 week when everything fell apart. Kathryn was in the commercial kitchen, directing the 2 caterers Josiah had hired, both experienced, both deferring to her expertise when her phone rang. Unknown number. Miss Bailey? This is Karen Rodriguez from Virginia Child Services. We received a report regarding Simone's living situation and would like to schedule a home visit. The room spun. A report? From who? I can't disclose that information, but concerns were raised about your work hours and whether adequate supervision is being provided. It's routine follow-up. Nothing to be alarmed about. Nothing to be alarmed about. Kathryn's hands shook so badly she had to set down the knife she'd been using. When? She managed. Tomorrow afternoon, 2 o'clock. Will you be available? Yes. What else could she say? After hanging up, Kathryn braced herself against the counter. Someone had called CPS. Someone thought she wasn't good enough, wasn't doing enough, wasn't enough, period. And they were right, weren't they? She was working insane hours. Simone was with Camille more than with her lately. What kind of mother-guardian did that make her? Kathryn, one of the caterers, a woman named Iris, touched her shoulder gently. Are you okay? You just went completely pale. I'm fine. Just can you handle things for an hour? I need to make a call. She didn't call Josiah, couldn't face telling him that everything he'd invested in her was about to crumble. Instead, she called Camille. They can't take her, Camille said fiercely after Kathryn explained. You've done everything right. You're an amazing guardian. Am I? I've been working 70-hour weeks. She got in trouble at school and I didn't even know she was being bullied. What if they're right? What if I'm failing her? Stop. Right now, stop. Camille's voice was steel. You know who calls CPS on struggling mothers? People who've never had to choose between paying rent and buying groceries. People who don't understand that love sometimes looks like working yourself to the bone so a child has opportunities. You are not failing, Simone. The system is failing you both. What do I do? You clean your apartment. You document everything: school records, medical records, proof of income, proof of childcare arrangements. And Kat, you call Josiah, because if anyone has resources to fight this, it's him. Josiah arrived at her apartment within 20 minutes, still in a suit from a board meeting, carrying a leather folder. "I brought my lawyer on Zoom," he said without preamble. "Sarah specializes in family law. She's going to help us prepare." "Us?" Kathryn's voice cracked. "You think I'm sitting this out?" He set up his laptop on her small kitchen table. "Kathryn, someone is trying to take Simone from you. That's not happening. Not on my watch." The lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s, appeared on screen. "Miss Bailey, I need you to tell me everything. Work hours, childcare arrangements, any past involvement with CPS, anyone who might have a grudge." Kathryn walked her through it all: the long hours prepping for the summit, Camille as primary childcare, the school incident, her financial struggles. Everything felt inadequate as she said it out loud. "Who knows about your current work situation?" Sarah asked. "My clients. Camille. The school." Kathryn stopped. "The principal. When I took Simone out after the incident, I was angry. I said if they couldn't show compassion, maybe we needed a different school." Sarah and Josiah exchanged looks. "She called CPS," Kathryn whispered. "Because I challenged her." "Possibly," Sarah said carefully. "It happens more than you'd think. Educators weaponizing the system against parents who push back. But here's the good news. You have documentation. Simone is healthy, housed, fed, loved. You have stable income and childcare. This is likely a fishing expedition. They'll visit, see everything is fine, and close the case. And if they don't, then we fight. But Kathryn, you're not going into this alone. You have resources now." Sarah's gaze flicked to Josiah, both personal and legal. After the call ended, Kathryn sat at her table, head in hands. Josiah dismissed the laptop and knelt in front of her chair. "Look at me," he said softly. She did. His eyes were so blue, so certain. "They are not taking her. I promise you that. Whatever it costs, whatever it takes, Simone stays with you." "You can't promise that. Money doesn't fix everything." "No, but it buys the best lawyer in Virginia. It buys character witnesses. It buys time to build an ironclad case if we need one." He took her hands. "And more than that, you have me. I will testify that I've seen you parent that child with more love and dedication than most biological parents show. I will tell them that Simone is thriving under your care, that you sacrifice everything for her happiness." Tears spilled over. "Why are you doing this?" "Because I love you." The words hung in the air. Not, "I'm falling." Past tense, present, real. "I love you," he repeated. "And I love that little girl in there who draws on my jeans and asks a million questions and lights up when she talks about you. You're not alone in this, Kathryn. Not anymore." She kissed him, desperate and grateful and terrified. He pulled her close, let her cry into his shoulder until the tears ran dry. "What if they take her?" she whispered. "They won't, but if they try, we'll fight so hard they'll regret ever opening a file." His hand stroked her hair. "You're a good mother. Don't let anyone make you doubt that." "I'm not her mother, that's the problem. You're the only mother she remembers. Biology doesn't make a parent, love does, and you love her more than anything. Except maybe you," Kathryn heard herself say. "I think I might love you too, and that's terrifying." His smile was sunshine breaking through storm clouds. "Good terrifying or bad terrifying?" "Both. I'll take it." The CPS visit the next day was every nightmare Kathryn had ever had. Karen Rodriguez was professional but cold, walking through the small apartment with a clipboard, making notes about everything. The size of Simone's bedroom, the contents of the refrigerator, the stack of bills on the counter. Simone sat on the couch, coloring, trying to be invisible. Kathryn wanted to scream at the injustice of it. This child had lost her mother at 3 years old, and now strangers were deciding if she deserved stability. "Miss Bailey, I see you've been working extensive hours recently," Karen said, reviewing her notes. "Can you explain your childcare arrangements?" "Simone stays with my best friend Camille Baptiste when I'm working. She's known Camille her entire life. It's safe, stable, and..." And you're currently working how many hours per week? It varies. Right now, with a major event this weekend, more than usual. But that's temporary. I see. More notes. And you're aware that Simone had a physical altercation at school last week? She was defending herself against bullying. A child told her she didn't have a real family because her mother died. The school reported concerns about your response to the incident. Kathryn's blood boiled. My response was to defend my daughter. She caught herself. My niece. To defend Simone from a system that prioritized policy over compassion. Karen's expression didn't change. Miss Bailey, I'm going to recommend we keep this case open for now. I'd like to do a follow-up visit in 30 days. In the meantime, I strongly suggest you consider reducing your work hours and finding more stable childcare arrangements. Stable? Camille has been in Simone's life since birth. Official childcare, licensed, something that shows you're prioritizing the child's welfare. After Karen left, Kathryn sank onto the couch next to Simone. The little girl climbed into her lap immediately. Is she going to take me away? Simone asked in a small voice. No, baby, never, I promise. You can't promise that. That's what you always say, that we can't promise things we can't control. Kathryn's heart shattered. When had Simone gotten so wise? When had she learned that adults lie to make children feel better? You're right, Kathryn said instead. I can't control what other people do, but I can promise that I will fight with everything I have to keep you with me, that I love you more than anything in this world, that you are mine and I am yours, no matter what any paper or any stranger says. Can I promise that? Simone nodded against her chest. I want to stay with you. You're my mama, not her, pointing to where Maya's picture sat on the bookshelf, because she's in heaven. But you, you're my mama now. Kathryn held her tighter, tears streaming. You're my baby girl, my whole heart, and nobody is taking you away. Her phone buzzed. Josiah, how did it go? 30-day follow-up. She wants stable, licensed childcare, reduced work hours. Basically, she wants me to stop working and have unlimited resources to provide perfect care. Okay. Josiah, I can't just stop working. I have a business, which is about to get a major influx of clients from the summit. Kathryn, what if you hired Camille officially, made her your licensed childcare provider? I'll cover the licensing costs and certification. It keeps Simone with someone she knows and loves, but it satisfies CPS's requirements. That's... Kathryn stopped. It was actually brilliant. Camille might go for that. She's been talking about leaving her retail job anyway. Then let's make it happen. And Kathryn, after the summit, you're taking 2 weeks off. No arguments. You need rest. Simone needs time with you. And honestly, I'd like to take both of you somewhere that isn't this apartment or a commercial kitchen. I can't afford... My treat. Call it a delayed birthday present for Simone, or an early Christmas gift. Or just call it me wanting to spend time with both of you somewhere beautiful. His voice softened. You told me you loved me last night. Let me show you what that means. Let me take care of you, not because you can't take care of yourself, but because you shouldn't have to do it alone anymore. Kathryn looked at Simone, still curled in her lap, at their small apartment with its yellow curtains and thrift store furniture, at the life she'd built from nothing through sheer determination. And then she looked at the possibility Josiah was offering. Not rescue, partnership, a chance to keep everything she'd built while adding something she'd never dared dream of. Love, support, a future that included more than just survival. 2 weeks, she agreed. After the summit, but somewhere low-key. Simone doesn't need fancy resorts. How about a cabin in the Blue Ridge Mountains? Hiking, campfires, s'mores, very low-key. Despite everything, Kathryn smiled. That sounds perfect. Then it's a date. Now go hug that beautiful girl and stop worrying. We've got this. Together. Together, the word used to scare her. Now it felt like the only thing keeping her standing. The summit was in 2 days when Josiah's mother showed up at the commercial kitchen. Eleanor Parsons swept in like she owned the place, which, technically, her son did, carrying a large basket covered with a checkered cloth. I brought lunch, she announced. You've been working yourself to death, and I wanted to meet the woman who's made my son smile for the first time in years. Kathryn wiped her hands on her apron, suddenly self-conscious. Mrs. Parsons. Eleanor, please. Mrs. Parsons was my mother-in-law, and we didn't get along. She set the basket on a clean prep table. Josiah told me about the CPS situation. I wanted you to know that if you need a character witness, you have one. You don't even know me. I know my son, and I know he doesn't fall in love easily or lightly. If he sees something special in you, it's there. Eleanor started unpacking the basket, homemade sandwiches, fruit salad, cookies that smelled like childhood. I also know what it's like to raise a child while grieving. My husband died 3 years ago, and Josiah fell apart in ways he won't admit. Sometimes the best parenting is just showing up and loving them through the pain. Kathryn's throat tightened. I'm trying, but what if trying isn't enough? It's always enough when it comes from love. Eleanor handed her a sandwich. Eat, you're too thin, and you need your strength for this weekend. After the summit is over and you've shown everyone how brilliant you are, we'll deal with CPS together. The Parsons family doesn't lose. We're too stubborn. I'm not family. Eleanor's smile was knowing. Not yet, but give my son time. He's traditional that way, likes to do things properly. The words sent a thrill of terror and hope through Kathryn's chest. Was Josiah thinking about marriage? They'd barely been dating a month. That was insane. Except it didn't feel insane. It felt like the most natural thing in the world. I'm scared, Kathryn admitted. Good. That means it matters. Eleanor patted her hand. Now eat your lunch and tell me about this menu. I want to know what's going to make 200 tech executives fall in love with your food the way my son fell in love with you. The tech summit started at 7 in the morning, and Kathryn had been awake since 3. 200 guests, 3 days, and everything she'd built riding on tiny plates of food that had to be perfect. Breathe, Iris said, watching Kathryn's hands shake over the first tray of breakfast pastries. You've got this. We've practiced every dish 100 times. What if it's not enough? Then it's not enough. But Kathryn, it will be. You're the most talented chef I've worked with in 20 years. Trust yourself. By 8 o'clock, the first wave of reviews started trickling in. Executives who usually grabbed coffee and ignored breakfast were stopping mid-conversation to ask about the herb-crusted quiche. By lunch, Josiah texted her a photo of 3 different people asking for Bailey's table business cards. You're going viral in the tech world, his message read. I told you. But Kathryn couldn't celebrate. Not with the CPS follow-up looming in 23 days. Not with the constant fear that one mistake would cost her everything. The first day ended in triumph. The second day brought more rave reviews. By the third day, Kathryn had 5 new catering requests and a local food critic asking for an interview. This is it, Camille said, helping pack up equipment on the final evening. This is your moment. Everything's about to change. Kathryn wanted to believe her, but she'd learned that the higher you climbed, the farther you had to fall. The crash came on a Tuesday, 5 days after the summit ended. Kathryn was cleaning her apartment, preparing for the CPS follow-up in 18 days, when her phone rang. Unknown number again. Her stomach dropped. Miss Bailey, this is Karen Rodriguez. I wanted to give you a courtesy heads-up that we've received additional reports regarding Simone's welfare. The world tilted. What kind of reports? Concerns that you've been accepting financial assistance from a romantic partner in exchange for... Karen paused delicately. Companionship. There are also questions about whether this relationship is appropriate given the presence of a minor child in the home. Kathryn's blood ran cold. Someone was accusing her of what? Prostitution? Being a gold digger? Using Simone to trap a wealthy man? That's insane. Josiah and I are in a relationship. A real relationship. He's helping because he cares about us. I understand this is difficult, Miss Bailey, but when a woman in financial distress becomes involved with a significantly wealthier partner, particularly when a child is involved, we have to investigate. It's our responsibility to ensure the child isn't being exposed to transactional relationships or used as leverage. Leverage? Simone is my daughter, my niece. She has nothing to do with my relationship with Josiah. Then you won't mind if we interview her separately, and Mr. Parsons as well. I'll be scheduling those conversations for next week. After hanging up, Kathryn sat on her couch, shaking. Someone hated her enough to twist her relationship with Josiah into something ugly. to use her poverty as a weapon, to suggest she'd exploit a child for money. She knew exactly who it was, that principal, the woman who'd called CPS the first time, now doubling down because Kathryn had dared to challenge her. Because Kathryn had enrolled Simone in Mountain View Academy instead of crawling back to apologize. Her phone buzzed. "Josiah, I just got a call from CPS," he said, voice tight. "They want to interview me about our relationship, about money I've given you. They think I'm using you, using Simone to get to your money." Kathryn's voice broke. "Josiah, this is exactly what I was afraid of. This is why people like me don't date people like you. Someone always assumes the worst. People like me? Kathryn, stop. No, you stop. You with your perfect solutions and your unlimited resources and your belief that money can fix everything. Well, it can't fix this. It's making it worse. They think I'm a gold digger now. They think I'm exposing Simone to inappropriate. She couldn't even say it. Come over. Let's talk about this in person. I can't. Simone's here, and I can't fall apart in front of her again. I need space to think. Kathryn, please don't do this. Don't shut me out. I'll call you later." She hung up before he could respond, before she could hear the hurt in his voice and cave. Because maybe Karen Rodriguez was right. Maybe Kathryn had let herself get swept up in a fairy tale that was always going to end badly. Maybe the kindest thing she could do for everyone was walk away before this got worse. Before they took Simone. 3 days of silence. Kathryn didn't return Josiah's calls, didn't answer his texts. She threw herself into work, taking every small catering job she could find, as if staying busy would stop the panic. Camille staged an intervention on Thursday evening, showing up with Thai food and a determined expression. "Talk," she demanded, setting containers on the table. "There's nothing to talk about." "Really? Because Josiah called me 3 times asking if you're okay. Eleanor called twice. Even Iris from the summit asked if something happened. You're ghosting everyone who cares about you. I'm protecting them." "From what?" "From me." The words exploded out. "From my mess, my poverty, my screwed-up life that makes people think I'm a prostitute or a gold digger or whatever Karen Rodriguez is writing in her file. Josiah doesn't deserve that. He deserves someone from his world who doesn't come with CPS investigations and accusations." Camille sat down heavily. "Kat, you're spiraling. I'm being realistic. What happens when this gets out? When his business partners hear that he's dating someone CPS is investigating? When his reputation gets dragged down because of me? Have you asked him if he cares?" "Of course he cares. He has a company to run, a reputation. I meant, have you asked him if he cares what people think? Because from what I've seen, that man would burn his entire reputation to the ground if it meant keeping you and Simone safe." Camille leaned forward. "You're doing it again. Pushing away anyone who gets too close because you're scared." "I'm not scared. I'm practical. You're terrified. And I get it. Maya died and left you alone. Your parents died and left you alone. You learned that everyone leaves eventually. But Kathryn, Josiah isn't leaving. You're pushing him away. There's a difference." The words hit like a physical blow. "What if I let him stay and they take Simone anyway? What if loving him costs me my daughter? What if loving him is exactly what saves you both?" Camille pushed a container of pad thai toward her. "Eat, then call him. Because that man is sitting in his giant house, miserable, waiting for you to remember that you don't have to do this alone." Kathryn drove to Josiah's estate at 9 o'clock that night, heart in her throat. The gate was open like he'd been expecting her. She found him in the kitchen, her favorite room in his house, staring at an empty coffee cup. He looked up when she entered, and the hope in his eyes nearly broke her. "I'm sorry," she said before he could speak. "I panicked. I heard what Karen said, and all I could think was that I'm going to ruin your life. That people will think terrible things about you because of me. Let them think whatever they want." He stood, but didn't move closer, like he was afraid she'd run again. "Kathryn, I don't care what strangers believe. I care about you and Simone. That's it. Everything else is noise." "It's not just noise. It's a CPS investigation that could cost me my daughter, and now they're dragging you into it." "Good. Let them investigate. They'll find exactly what I told Karen on the phone today, that I'm in love with a woman who works harder than anyone I've ever met." who raises a child with more grace than people who have 10 times her resources, who makes me want to be better than the guy who just accumulates money and calls it success. Kathryn's eyes filled. What did Karen say? She asked about money I've given you. I told her the truth, that I hired you for legitimate catering jobs, that I helped with your car because I care about your safety, that I offered to cover Camille's childcare licensing because I want Simone to have stability. None of that is a transaction. It's what people who love each other do. She thinks I'm using you. She thinks poverty makes people desperate, which says more about her worldview than about you. He finally crossed the space between them, hands gentle on her shoulders. Kathryn, I've spent the last 3 days imagining my life without you in it. It's empty, successful and respectable, and completely empty. I don't want that life. I want Saturday movie nights and 8-year-olds who draw on my genes, and a woman who challenges me to be real instead of perfect. I'm so scared, she whispered. So am I. Love is terrifying. But walking away because you're afraid, that's not protecting anyone. That's just letting fear win. She kissed him then, desperate and apologetic and full of all the words she couldn't say. His arms came around her, holding her like she was precious, like she was worth fighting for. I love you, she said against his mouth. I'm sorry I ran. I'm sorry I doubted us. I love you too, and we're going to get through this. Together. He pulled back, cupping her face. I talked to Sarah. We're going to request that the CPS investigation interview me immediately. Get ahead of this. I'll explain our relationship, provide financial documentation showing every payment was for legitimate work, character references from people who've seen us together. We're building a case that shows exactly what this is, 2 people in love, trying to build a life. What if it's not enough? Then we appeal. We fight harder. We don't give up. His thumb wiped away her tears. Kathryn, I'm not going anywhere. You need to believe that. I'm here for the CPS meetings and the lawyer consultations and the hard conversations. I'm here for Simone's bad dreams and your car troubles and every single unglamorous moment of real life. That's what love is. I don't deserve you. You deserve everything, and I'm going to spend however long it takes proving that to you. The CPS interview with Josiah happened on a Monday, 10 days before the follow-up home visit. Sarah was present, so was a court stenographer. Karen Rodriguez asked every invasive question imaginable about their relationship, their finances, their intentions. Josiah answered each one with calm clarity. Yes, he'd provided financial assistance. No, it wasn't contingent on romantic involvement. Yes, he loved Kathryn. Yes, he intended to marry her eventually, a detail that made Kathryn's heart stop when Sarah relayed it later. No, Simone wasn't part of any calculation except that he loved her because Kathryn loved her. He was remarkable, Sarah told Kathryn over the phone. Completely unshakable. Karen tried every angle to suggest impropriety, and he shut it down with documentation and character. I think we turned the corner on this. The Simone interview happened on Wednesday. Kathryn wasn't allowed to be present, but Camille sat with her in the waiting room, holding her hand while a child psychologist talked to her little girl behind closed doors. When Simone emerged 45 minutes later, she looked tired but okay. What did they ask you, baby? Kathryn asked in the car. If I was happy, if I felt safe, if anyone ever made me do things I didn't want to. Simone clicked her seatbelt. I told them you're the best mama in the world. That Josiah makes you smile. That I want him to marry you so he can be my daddy. Kathryn had to pull over because she was crying too hard to drive. Is that okay? Simone asked worriedly. Did I say something wrong? No, baby. You said everything right. Kathryn pulled her into a fierce hug. I love you so much. I love you too. Can we have pizza for dinner? All this talking made me hungry. And just like that, life returned to normal, or as normal as it could be with a CPS case hanging over their heads. The follow-up home visit happened on a Friday afternoon. Karen arrived with another caseworker, a younger woman who smiled at Simone and complimented the yellow curtains. They walked through the apartment again, but this time they saw Camille's childcare certification proudly displayed. Simone's new school schedule showing counseling appointments, bank statements showing income from catering jobs, character letters from Eleanor, from Summit clients, from Iris and the other caterers. and they saw Josiah, who'd insisted on being present, not to intimidate, but to support. "Mr. Parsons," Karen said coolly, "this is highly irregular." "Miss Rodriguez." He was perfectly polite. "I'm here as Kathryn's partner. If you have questions about our relationship or my involvement in Simone's life, I'm happy to answer them directly rather than through speculation." They talked for 2 hours. Karen asked Simone to show her room, her toys, her drawings. The little girl chatted happily about Mountain View Academy, about her counselor Miss Wei, who understood about missing her first mama, about how Josiah was teaching her to identify trees on their hikes. Finally, Karen closed her folder. "Miss Bailey, based on what I've seen today and the interviews we've conducted, I'm recommending case closure. Simone is clearly thriving in your care. You've addressed all the concerns raised, and you've established a support system that ensures her welfare." Kathryn couldn't breathe. "Case closure? You'll receive official notification within a week. But yes, I see no reason to continue this investigation." Karen's expression softened slightly. "You're doing a good job. Simone is lucky to have you." After they left, Kathryn stood in her small living room, shaking. Josiah's arms came around her from behind. "It's over," he murmured into her hair. "You did it. She's safe." "We did it," Kathryn corrected, turning in his arms. "I couldn't have survived this without you." "Good thing you don't have to." He kissed her forehead. "Now, I believe someone mentioned pizza, and I have a question I've been waiting to ask until this was resolved." "What question?" He dropped to one knee right there in her tiny living room, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. Simone gasped from the doorway where she'd been watching. "Kathryn Louise Bailey, will you marry me? Will you let me love you and Simone for the rest of my life? Will you build a future with me that includes Saturday movie nights and terrible cooking experiments and every beautiful, messy, real moment we can create together?" Through tears, Kathryn laughed. "That's 3 questions. Then answer all of them. Yes. Yes to all of it. Yes to you. Yes to us. Yes to everything." He slipped the ring on her finger, a simple sapphire surrounded by small diamonds, and Simone launched herself at both of them, shrieking with joy. "I'm going to have a daddy," she yelled. "Can I tell Miss Camille? Can I tell everyone?" "You can tell the whole world, baby girl," Kathryn said, looking at Josiah through happy tears. "We're going to be a family." "We already are," Josiah said, pulling them both close. "Now it's just official." The official letter from CPS arrived on Wednesday, exactly 5 days after the home visit. Kathryn stood in her apartment doorway, hands shaking as she read the words, "Case closed," stamped across the top of the page. Simone looked up from her homework at the kitchen table. "Is it good news, Mama?" Mama, not Auntie Kat. The transition had happened naturally over the past few weeks, and every time Simone said it, Kathryn's heart expanded. "The best news, baby girl. They said you get to stay with me forever. It's official." Simone launched herself across the room, nearly knocking Kathryn over. "I already knew that. I told Miss Karen you'd never let anyone take me." "You're right. I wouldn't have. But now nobody can even try." Her phone rang. Josiah's name lit up the screen, and just seeing it made her smile. 3 weeks engaged, and she still got butterflies. "Did you get the letter?" he asked immediately. "Just opened it. We're free, Josiah. Really, truly free." "Then pack a bag. For both of you. We're going to the mountains tonight, and we're celebrating properly. No arguments. I have a catering job on Friday. Already handled. I called Iris. She's covering it with the team you've built. Kathryn, you've been running on fumes for months. Let me take care of you for a few days, please." She should protest. Should check in with Iris herself, confirm the menu, worry about every detail. But the exhaustion of the past months, years, really suddenly hit her all at once. "Okay," she said. "We'll be ready in an hour." His delighted laugh echoed through the phone. "I love you, Kathryn Bailey, soon to be Kathryn Parsons. I haven't decided if I'm changing my name," she teased. "You could be Kathryn anything, and I'd still be the luckiest man alive." The cabin Josiah had rented sat on a ridge overlooking the Shenandoah Valley, wrapped in the late August golden hour light. It was perfect, not too fancy, not too rustic. Just right for a family trying to figure out what normal looked like. Simone ran from room to room. claiming the loft bedroom with its skylight view of the stars. "Can we sleep up here together, all three of us?" Kathryn started to say no adults needed their own space, but Josiah beat her to it. "Absolutely. We'll drag mattresses up there and camp out. Make it an adventure." "You're going to spoil her," Kathryn said, watching Simone dance around the loft. "I'm going to love her. There's a difference." He pulled Kathryn close, resting his chin on top of her head. "She's been through so much. If I can give her a childhood full of good memories to balance the grief, I will." "When did you get so wise about parenting?" "I've been taking notes from the best." He kissed her temple. "You taught me that showing up is more important than being perfect. That love is in the consistency, not the grand gestures. I don't remember teaching you that. You teach it every day. Every time you put Simone's needs first. Every time you work yourself exhausted to make sure she has opportunities. Every time you choose to be present instead of perfect." His arms tightened around her. "You're remarkable, Kathryn. I hope you know that." She turned in his embrace, looking up at him. This man who could have anyone, who'd chosen her and her complicated life, who'd stood with her through CPS investigations and financial struggles and all the unglamorous reality of single motherhood. "I love you," she said. "I don't say it enough, but I do. I love you so much it scares me sometimes." "Good scared or bad scared?" "Good scared. The kind that means I'm all in. No more running, no more doubting. Just us, building something real." He kissed her then, soft and sweet and full of promise. Simone made gagging noises from the loft, and they broke apart laughing. "Gross, you're kissing again." "Get used to it, kiddo," Josiah called up. "Your mama's going to marry me, which means lots more kissing in your future." "Can I be a flower girl?" Marlena at school was a flower girl, and she got to wear a fancy dress and throw petals. Kathryn's eyes filled. "You can absolutely be our flower girl, the most important one. Can I pick my dress?" "Purple, obviously." "Obviously," Josiah agreed. "No other color would do." They spent 4 days in the mountains, hiking trails where Josiah taught Simone to identify oak from maple, sycamore from birch, building campfires where they roasted marshmallows and told stories, swimming in a creek so cold it took Kathryn's breath away while Simone shrieked with laughter. On the second night, after Simone fell asleep between them under the loft skylight, Josiah whispered, "I want to adopt her. Officially, if you'll let me." Kathryn's breath caught. "You want to be her legal father?" "I want to be her father in every way. I want my name on her school forms. I want to make decisions about her care. I want her to know that she's mine, ours, not just because we say so, but because the law says so too." He propped himself up on one elbow, looking down at her in the moonlight. "Maya gave her life, and you gave her love. I'd like to give her my name. Make her Simone Bailey Parsons, if that's okay with you." "She'd love that. She already calls you her daddy when you're not listening." "I know. I've heard her. It's the best sound in the world." His hand found hers in the dark. "When we get married, I want to do the adoption at the same time. Start our marriage as a complete family. No waiting, no questions about whether she's really mine. She is mine. From the first time she drew on my jeans, she was mine." Kathryn was crying now, trying to be quiet so she wouldn't wake Simone. "How did I get so lucky?" "Luck had nothing to do with it. You made incredible food. I was hungry for something real, and the universe decided we needed each other." He wiped her tears with his thumb. "Although I like to think Maya had something to do with it too, sending me someone to take care of her baby girl." "You think she'd approve?" "I think she'd be grateful her daughter has a mama who fights like hell and a daddy who's learning how. And I think she'd be happy you're not alone anymore." Simone stirred between them, reaching out in her sleep to grab Kathryn's hand on one side and Josiah's on the other, connecting them even unconsciously. Their little bridge, building a family out of grief and hope and stubborn love. "October," Kathryn whispered. "Let's get married in October. Nothing huge, just family and friends and Simone in a purple dress." "October," Josiah agreed. "I'll make it happen." They came down from the mountains to a transformed world. The summit publicity had exploded. Bailey's table had interview requests from 3 food magazines, a proposal to cater a governor's fundraiser, and 15 new client inquiries. "You're going to need to hire more people," Camille said. showing Kathryn the spreadsheet she'd created of all the requests. Like, a lot more people. I can't afford. Kat, stop. Yes, you can. Look at these numbers. You're not scraping by anymore. You're actually successful. It was true. For the first time in her adult life, Kathryn's bank account had more than 3 digits. She'd paid off the credit card debt from Maya's funeral. Josiah had insisted on replacing her car with a reliable used SUV safe for Simone, he'd said, and she couldn't argue with that. She'd even started a small college fund for Simone. This doesn't feel real, she admitted. Get used to it. This is your new normal. Hard work paying off, talent being recognized. You've earned this. But the best transformation wasn't financial. It was coming home to Josiah's SUV, parked outside her apartment 3 nights a week. It was Simone running to tell him about her day before even taking off her backpack. It was the slow, steady building of a family from 3 separate pieces that fit together like they'd always been meant to. Eleanor became a fixture too, showing up with cookies and unsolicited but surprisingly good advice about wedding planning. Small and intimate, she counseled over tea in Kathryn's kitchen. Don't let people pressure you into some enormous production. Marry him in a garden somewhere beautiful with the people who actually matter. Everything else is just performance. That's what I want. But Josiah's company, there are people who'll expect invitations. Those people can expect whatever they want. It's your wedding. Eleanor squeezed her hand. My first wedding was huge. 300 people, most of whom I didn't know. It was beautiful and exhausting and utterly impersonal. When I married Richard last year, we did it at the courthouse with just Josiah and Richard's daughter. Best decision I ever made. Marry for yourselves, not for appearances. So they planned small. Mountaintop ceremony at sunset in early October. 50 guests, mostly Kathryn's catering clients who'd become friends, Josiah's close colleagues, Camille's entire family who'd adopted Simone as an honorary niece, dinner reception at a winery. Simple, beautiful, real. Simone's purple dress arrived in mid-September, and she modeled it approximately 47 times. The adoption paperwork was filed. Josiah's lawyer assured them it would be finalized by the wedding date. Everything was falling into place with an ease that still made Kathryn nervous. Stop waiting for disaster, Josiah told her one evening while they cooked dinner together in her small kitchen, soon to be their kitchen, since he was selling his estate and they were buying a house together. Sometimes things just work out. Sometimes you get the happy ending. I'm not used to happy endings. Then let's get you used to it, starting now. He set down his knife, turned her to face him. Kathryn, I know your whole life has been about waiting for the other shoe to drop. But there is no other shoe. This is it. This is us choosing each other every single day. Building a life that includes burned toast and CPS scares and catering disasters and all the beautiful, messy reality of being a family. Burned toast? I tried to make breakfast yesterday while you were at the market. It did not go well. Simone has photographic evidence. Kathryn laughed, and it felt like freedom. I love you, even though you can't make toast. I love you too, especially because you can. The wedding day dawned clear and perfect. The Blue Ridge Mountains dressed in early fall color. Kathryn stood in a simple cream dress, not white. She was too practical for that, while Camille fussed with her hair. You're really doing this, Camille said, tears in her eyes. Marrying a billionaire who adores you and adopting Simone official. Maya would be so happy. I hope so. I wish she could be here. She is here. She's in every choice you made that led to this moment. Every time you chose love over fear, survival over giving up. She's in Simone's smile and your strength, and the fact that you let Josiah in instead of pushing him away. Camille hugged her carefully to avoid messing up the makeup. You deserve this, Kat. All of it. Simone burst into the room, purple dress swirling, basket of rose petals clutched in both hands. Is it time? Can I throw the flowers now? Almost, baby. You ready to help me marry Josiah? So ready. Then he'll be my daddy for real, right? Like legally? Legally and forever. The judge signed the papers yesterday. As soon as I marry Josiah, you're officially Simone Bailey, Parsons. Simone hugged her so hard the bouquet nearly fell. Best day ever. The ceremony was everything Kathryn hadn't known she wanted. Josiah waited at the end of a flower-strewn path, Eleanor on one side, and Daniel, his best friend from college, on the other. The officiant was a woman who'd known both grief and joy and spoke about building families from broken pieces with such tenderness that half the guests were crying before the vows even started. Simone walked ahead of Kathryn, throwing petals with serious concentration. When she reached Josiah, he scooped her up, kissed her forehead, and whispered something that made her giggle. Then Kathryn was there, taking his free hand while his other arm held their daughter. "I can't believe you're starting a wedding holding a kid," the officiant said with a smile. "She's part of this," Josiah said simply. "We're becoming a family, all three of us." So they said their vows as a trio, Josiah promising to love Kathryn and cherish Simone, Kathryn promising partnership and honesty, and Simone, when asked if she wanted to say anything, declared, "I promise to only draw on Daddy's jeans when he says it's okay, and to let you kiss sometimes even though it's gross." Laughter rippled through the guests. Josiah set Simone down gently, then pulled Kathryn into a kiss that tasted like tears and joy and the future they were building together. "I now pronounce you married," the officiant said, "and congratulations on your family." The reception was a blur of good food. Of course it was. Kathryn had overseen every dish and toasts that made her cry. Eleanor spoke about watching her son come back to life after years of just existing. Camille talked about Kathryn's fierce love and stubborn hope. Daniel told embarrassing stories about Josiah's terrible dating history before Kathryn saved him from himself. But the moment Kathryn would remember forever came at sunset, when Josiah pulled her onto the dance floor as the band played something soft and slow. "Mrs. Parsons," he murmured against her ear. "Miss Bailey, Parsons," she corrected. "I'm keeping my name, for the business. I don't care if you call yourself Queen of the Mountain. You're mine, and I'm yours, and that's all that matters." They swayed together as the sun painted the mountains gold and orange and purple, Simone's favorite color. Their daughter danced with Camille nearby, petals still stuck in her hair, grinning so wide it looked like her face might split. "What are you thinking?" Josiah asked. "That's 6 months ago. I thought the billionaire wanted me for one night, and now I have forever. You always had forever. You just had to believe you deserved it." "Do I deserve this?" "Kathryn," he stopped dancing, cupping her face so she had to look at him. "You survived losing your parents. You raised your sister when you were barely more than a child yourself. You took in a grieving toddler when you had nothing and built a life for her through sheer will and love. You created a business from scratch. You let me in when every instinct told you to run. You are the strongest, bravest, most deserving person I know. So yes, you deserve this. You deserve everything." She kissed him there on the dance floor, in front of 50 witnesses and the mountains, and the setting Sunday kissed him like he was oxygen, and she was finally learning to breathe. Simone crashed into them mid-kiss, wrapping her arms around both their legs. Family hug. They folded down to include her, the three of them tangled together and laughing, perfectly imperfect and completely whole. 6 months later, Bailey's table had outgrown the commercial kitchen. The new space purchased, not rented, thanks to the business loan Kathryn had qualified for all on her own, sat on Charlottesville's East End with floor-to-ceiling windows and enough room for a team of 10. Kathryn walked through the space at 6 in the morning, coffee in hand, still marveling, the walk-in refrigerator that held a week's worth of ingredients, the prep stations where Iris and 4 other full-time staff would arrive in an hour, the office where Camille managed bookings and accounts. Her office, her staff, her business. The door chimed, and Josiah entered carrying a bag from the bakery in Simone's hand. She should have been at school, but it was a teacher's workday. "Thought you might forget breakfast," he said, kissing her. "I had coffee." "Coffee isn't food. Simone, tell your mother she needs to eat." "Mama, you need to eat," Simone parroted dutifully. "Daddy says your brain doesn't work without food. That's why he can't make toast." Kathryn laughed, accepting the croissant. "What are you two doing here?" "Simone wanted to show you her project before we head to the Children's Museum." "Go ahead, baby girl." Simone pulled a poster board from behind her back. In careful 8-year-old handwriting and crayon drawings, it showed their family tree. At the top, Maya, labeled, "My First Mama, in Heaven." Below that, 3 figures holding hands, Kathryn, Simone, and Josiah. The title across the top read, "My Family, How Love Makes Us Whole." "It's for school," Simone explained. We had to show our families. Madison showed her mom and dad and brother, but I wanted to show all of us. Is that okay? Kathryn set down her coffee before she dropped it. It's more than okay, baby. It's perfect. Miss Way helped me with the words. She said families come in all shapes, and ours is beautiful because we chose each other. Miss Way is absolutely right. Kathryn pulled her into a hug, then extended an arm to Josiah, her husband, her partner, the man who'd given her not just love, but belief in her own worth. They stood there in her restaurant, her dream made real, as morning light painted everything gold. Outside, Charlottesville was waking up. Somewhere, people were facing their own mountains, their own grief and hope and impossible choices. But here in this moment, Kathryn had everything, not because a billionaire had swept her away, but because she'd been brave enough to let herself be loved, to accept help, to believe that women like her, survivors, fighters, single mothers with check engine lights and credit card debt, deserved happy endings too. She thought the billionaire wanted her for one night. He gave her a name, wife, partner, beloved. And he gave her a future not perfect, but real and messy, and full of Saturday movie nights and purple flower girl dresses and food that tasted like hope. He gave her everything, but the truth was, she'd already had it inside her all along. He just helped her see it. Thank you for staying with this story till the end. If you enjoyed it, the next one will completely pull you in. It's even more surprising and emotional than this. So don't miss it. Tap the video on your screen and continue the journey.